We have just learned that Senator Elizabeth Warren will end her presidential bid. Again, Elizabeth Warren ending her campaign, a long campaign. She's taken the last 36 hours after disappointing Super Tuesday results to decide.
Yeah, and listen, it shows how quickly this moved. I mean, a week ago, folks were saying that Joe Biden's campaign was over, but it was only a few weeks ago when Elizabeth Warren was considered a possible front-runner in this race. Right. It changes very quickly. MJ Lee has been covering this campaign since the beginning. Tell us about the decision here and the reaction from the campaign.
That's right. This news is just coming into CNN. According to a source familiar, Senator Elizabeth Warren will hold a call with campaign staff later today, and she will announce that she is suspending her White House campaign. Again, confirming what has been widely assumed over the last 36 hours, that Senator Elizabeth Warren will be suspending her 2020 campaign for the White House. CNN can also report, interestingly, that she is planning on holding a media availability here in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She will be speaking to reporters later in the day when it is official, when she has officially shared with staff on this call that will happen that she is ending her presidential campaign. That, of course, is notable because if you rewind some to 14 months ago, this is where her presidential campaign officially began. It was on New Year's Eve of 2018 that she announced here that she was forming an exploratory committee for the presidency, and on that day, too, she came out with her husband, Bruce, and took questions from reporters. Our understanding, again, is that she will do exactly that today after this staff call happens, and she officially tells her campaign that she is suspending her White House run. She will come out of her house and speak to reporters. So that is what we are hearing right now.
MJ, before you go, the next obvious question is she going to endorse? Do we know?
That is the huge, huge question, and we have nothing to share that is reportable right now on whether she is going to make an endorsement. If she does, who that endorsement might be for. Obviously, as we have talked about a lot over the last few days, we have seen some major endorsements going to former Vice President Joe Biden. We have no idea if she plans on, either on this call or when reporters speak to her later today and she is asked, will you make an endorsement, whether she has a decision to share. So again, no news on that front, but it is now official. She is ending her presidential campaign today. Jim and Poppy.
MJ Lee, thanks very much. Let's go to David Chalian now, CNN's political director. So we don't know the endorsement answer yet, but who, in your view, are Warren supporters most likely to migrate to after her exit from the race?
Well, it's a really interesting thing when you look at Elizabeth Warren's support. It's not just easily, she's a progressive and it all goes to Bernie Sanders. Some of her support comes from white college-educated women. She does really well with those voters. And who's doing well with those voters in the Sanders versus Biden battle? Well, it's Joe Biden. So you can imagine that the supporters of Elizabeth Warren, who are ideologically bound to her, will maybe find their way drifting to Bernie Sanders.
Right.
But there is a whole swath of her support that is perhaps going to find Joe Biden more in line with where they want to be in this race. It's not a neat split, which is why her endorsement is going to be one of the most interesting elements, whether we get that today or in the days ahead.
David, just to step back for a moment and talk about this campaign of a woman with a plan for everything, right? Bumper stickers were made about this. It shouldn't be lost on anyone that, with the exception of Tulsi Gabbard, who is still in the race but has not made it to the debate stage this year, she's the last woman to get out. There are no other women running except for Tulsi Gabbard at this point.
Yes, and I have little doubt that was weighing on Elizabeth Warren's mind also when you talk to people around her familiar with her campaign. As she was assessing this campaign, the idea of being this, and Tulsi Gabbard, of course, but a totally different kind of candidacy, that being the last real contender, last female contender in this nomination battle was something that was no doubt part of her consideration here, Poppy. And you just have to look at the arc of her campaign as well. I mean, when Elizabeth Warren, when she first got into this race, there was a lot of assessment that she may already have been damaged goods. The president using a racist nickname for her, how she handled her Native American heritage and the rollout of that DNA test, all of that had this assessment when she got in that she may have already peaked, and that proved not to be the case at all. She was the candidate in 2019 whose trajectory was just complete rise for the most part. She surprised people with how much money she was raising. She swore off the big dollar donations and did the grassroots funding, part by necessity, but then turning it into part of her message as well. And she spent much of the spring, the summer, and the beginning of fall of 2019 really building, and that all changed in October, basically, when she just faced a ton of pressure about how she was going to pay for her version of Medicare for All, how she was going to pay for that, and she said without raising taxes. She separated herself from Sanders in a way that when she defended that policy didn't quite add up for people, and that became the beginning of some decline for her that she never fully recovered from.
No question. And listen, it's just a reminder of how quickly this race has moved. Just remarkable. And early storylines that did not pan out. Kyung La, she's in Phoenix. She's been following the Sanders campaign. Kyung, you've been covering the campaign from the beginning here. To our knowledge, has there been any communication between the Warren and Sanders campaign about endorsement, trying to bring the supporters over?
To our knowledge,
what do we know?
nothing. To our knowledge, no conversations as of yet that have become public. From what we heard from Bernie Sanders, from Senator Sanders, they are absolutely hoping and coveting this endorsement because, as you were just talking about there, Jim, what Senator Warren brings with her, with any sort of endorsement, is the people who Bernie Sanders would like in his category. Some of those women, some of the suburbanites, some of the college-educated, especially those women who back Senator Warren, and Bernie Sanders would absolutely like them in his tent. So the question will be, can he expand his range of voters to include the people who have supported Senator Warren? That is what the Bernie Sanders world is looking at. They want those voters to come over to him. Now, we are expecting him to speak here in Phoenix, Arizona. Certainly, this is not unexpected from Senator Sanders' perspective that Warren would be dropping out. They did have a phone conversation. The details of that private conversation were not shared beyond the fact that they did have that conversation. So the piece that we're looking for today from the Sanders perspective is if she does she endorse Senator Sanders?